Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Lee County Commission meeting for October 11th. If you would, please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Let's stand up. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let's pray. Gracious our Father, Lord, thank you for this opportunity, Lord. Thank you for this county. Lord, I just thank you for all your many blessings. Lord, most of all, I thank you for your Son, Jesus Christ. Lord, as we go about doing county business, I learned one thing, and that is that you can't please everybody. And so, Lord, I just pray that you give each and every one of us up here wisdom and as to how to handle every situation that we come across. Lord, help us to do it with our hearts. Lord, help us to do it in a caring manner. Again, Lord, I just thank you for the opportunity to be here for this in Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Elected officials in the room. Barry Back, Olean Price, our Revenue Commissioner, Jay Jones, our Sheriff. News media. We've got Craig Woods from the Opelika Observer and Jim Little from the OA News. Any other media present? All right, citizen community. However, well, Deborah McCord, Carol Story, and Charles Mitchell. I know all of y'all. I think y'all are all here about Horseshoe Bend Library.
Historical Society.
Okay.
About both.
All right. Is first. You have 3 minutes.
Thank you. I'm here, as I said, to represent the Lake County Historical Society. We are a nonprofit organization that represents all of Lake County. We provide services for the whole county. We are open free to the public. We provide services that no other organization in Lake County provides. I understand that a few meetings back, it was proposed that everyone across the board got level cut in funding so that everyone could be funded. And then at the last commission meeting, two organizations, the Lake County Historical Society and the Horseshoe Bend Library, were unfairly targeted for a great reduction in funding. We're here to ask you to please reconsider, if possible, to amend your budget. We depend on this funding. We're an organization that's been created by some very well-respected members of Lake County. We have been carrying on this tradition for over 40 years, providing these services for the county as a whole. We provide school field trips for over 800 children in Lee County each and every year. We are open every second Saturday for family fun activities, free to the public. We teach, we preserve, we restore the history of Lee County, and I respectfully ask you to reconsider your funding.
Thank you, ma'am. Carol Story.
I had prepared some remarks, but I'm just going to speak from my heart. I just decided that might just be the better thing. I'm a lifelong Lee Countian, love the history. I'm a retired educator, and the education part of the Lee County Historical Society is what is extremely important to me. I am a volunteer for field trips. I watch the children's eyes light up when they see something and they learn in that sort of way. And as an educator, I know that book learning is not as effective as real life hands-on learning, and we provide that. My great nephew went home and excitedly, he was one of the children on a field trip last year, and excitedly told his mother and grandmother everything he had learned, and it was extensive. He has good memory, but it was extensive. But watching those children is just special. And also, I love the history of this county because I did grow up here and I've been here. We impart that not only to children but also to adults. And it's a privilege for me to get to share with them when Dr. McLean, whose office is replicated out there, was my doctor. When I used an outhouse, like we have one out there, about the schools as they were in earlier days. And I value that experience for them and for me, and I hope that it can continue, and it can with the funding being restored. And I ask you to do that.
All right, and Charles Mitchell.
Miss Carroll and Miss Deborah have spoken very well for the Lee County Historical Society. There's not much else I can say, but I do appreciate all the support the commission has given the society in the past. It's been essential to our, like Deborah said, we are 100% volunteer and we depend on contributions and membership to keep our organization going. We have almost 200 members and they are essential. And by the way, I want to remind you that coming up in 3 weeks is the big Pioneer Day in Ochapoka, one of the biggest events, one of the, outside of football, perhaps the biggest event that occurs in the county each year. And we hope that all of you are members of the organization and will attend the Pioneer Day, which used to be Syrup Sopping Day, which was started in the early 1970s by the Lee County Historical Society. And if you happen not to be a member, see me after the meeting, and I'll get you signed up. But we do appreciate your support and hope you'll continue to support your Lee County Historical Society.
Richard, you represent your group well. I hope the media got that.
Thank you, Charles.
I'm just curious, how many members of the audience are here on the issue of the Historical Society?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Okay, thank you.
All right. It is,
Can I say something?
yes.
I'm not gonna say this right here, but I appreciate the job of the Historical Society. I think all the commission up here, but I talked to them and listened to them, and they said the same thing. But our position from our administrator when it came before us, our budget was short. We don't have too much money, so we have to look at the whole picture. And I looked at the Historical Society, and we're gonna try to do something in the past to help them, if y'all can give us time. But in 2007, we started off with $3,000. 2008, we went up to $6,000. 2009, $6,000. 2010, $5,000. Short here. 2011, $4,500. 2012, $4,410. 2013, same thing, $4,410. We went up in 2014 to $9,410. Try to help. In 2016, we had the same budget, $9,410. And this year, after we had all the budget here and all the agencies, there's so much money we had. That's why we reduced it down to $2,500. Understand that if we can get some more money in and do something, I don't think no commission up here. This is all we had to work with. I just want y'all to understand that. And I told some of the people that if I as a commission can do something, help y'all with the time, I do what I can do. Like he said, membership, I'm done. I just encourage other people. But we can work and support each other. Just give us permission, time, and be patient. We don't want to see anybody fail. We want to help.
I just want to say that the whole commission was not in favor of that. I think that's what he said, the commission, and 2 of us were not in favor of that vote.
All right, Mr. Consent agenda has, I have it here, we've got 4 places. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 4. We have 1 new one, okay. Consent agenda contains the minutes of the September 26th meeting. Contains 3 lists of claims, 1 that have been paid that need to be ratified, 1 that are awaiting your approval for payment, and 1 which are the procurement card transactions. The first reading is on the Cemetery Preservation Commission. There are 5 seats on that commission. There have been 5 members. 2 have expressed interest in no longer serving on that. 3 others have sent in citizen interest forms, and we have 1 new person who sent in a citizen interest form. So we'll announce first reading tonight, won't require any action, and then we will come back at our next meeting for second reading and vote on the floor, and we will still have the 1 vacancy. Any questions about the consent agenda?
Ms. Ward, are you here? Family Ward?
Business health hasn't been too good lately.
Any questions about the consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
A second.
Motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's unanimous. As we did our first reading at the last meeting, now it is time for second reading on the Lee County Recreation Board. We have 4 places there. These are 5-year terms. Actually, one is completing a term of someone else. We have Alice Buchanan, Rex Barr, John Johnson, being either appointed or reappointed. 1 new appointment, 2 reappointments. And then Stephen Holly is finishing the term of Janice Frazier. Any questions about the second reading of the 4 places on the Lee County Recreation Board?
Is Mr. Barr now?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
He's on their term.
Yes, I'd like to say something about that. I think we need to have some correction because I looked at the district and we got Mr. Holland. He should be in Loachpoke. I think he just misread, and Mr. Johnson in Beauregard.
Commissioner Harris, the places are by the school districts.
That's what I'm saying.
And then the commissioners are assigned to the school districts. So there are 2 from each of the 4 county school districts.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is that's the school district they should be from. Mr. Johnson and the principal down there at Beauregard, that's the Ham person. They represent Beauregard. And Mr. Holland represent Loachpoke. And this person that she got decided to represent Loachpoke too. That'd be correct, right? You see that?
Then there will be 3 from the Lynchburg School District. I don't understand how that fits. Ms. Fitzgerald, you got your chart? Well, Commissioner, subject to 2 people for each school district.
That's only,
In that location.
No, he's supposed to be, and he represents Beauregard. Represents the principal.
Dickie Brown.
Yeah, Dick Brown, that's right.
Then who is our other person from Lochapoka?
Yeah, we got 2 Holly and 1 Sheila got. She got Alice, right?
Well, each of us is supposed to have 1, right? So I have 1.
Each of you get 1 in Lochapoka.
Them the 2 we got. She got 1. That'd be correct.
I just have 1.
So John, who's your Lochapoka appointment?
Mr. Holly.
We'll check our records one more time. Any other questions about the second reading on the Lee County Recreation Board?
Judge, just commented, next Monday at 5:30 in this chamber, so there'll be a recreation board meeting. If anybody would like to. It's open to the public.
Motion to approve the board.
Second.
That's it.
Now a second, motion and second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimous. Susie Anderson is here about the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library, and we're going to ask for a show of hands here also. How many of you here about the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library? If you keep them up, well, I can get a count for you. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Thank you.
Okay. Well, thank you for letting us be here today. I'm getting over a cold, so I hope I don't have a coughing fit. while I'm talking.
Give it to Fred right there.
Okay. Okay, have my phone.
Gee, thank you.
I want to thank the Lee County Commission for all the years of service that you've given to the support you've given to the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library. Just to refresh your memory, the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library first started out with the combination of Lee and Tallapoosa counties in August of 1950, when Lee County asked to join Tallapoosa County Library so that they could share resources and share services to make sure that everybody in their counties had as good a library services as available at the time. And the fact that Tallapoosa County had just purchased a bookmobile might have had something to do with that. But we have had, in those 66 years, support from Lee County. And our mission and our goal has always been the same, to serve the people of the county to the best of our ability, to give them the library service they need and deserve, and to particularly place emphasis on getting library materials to those people who cannot easily get to city libraries. Now, over the years, our bookmobiles have changed in appearance, the kinds of things that we do. There's now the internet that people can use, but it does not take the place of books and libraries and what you can get from that. And what Horseshoe Bend Regional Library does is not duplicated by anyone else in this county. We take services to those people who cannot go to the library. And we have some of those people represented here today, and we have a lot of other people who are not here because they can't go to the library, they can't come to the commission meeting. And so I appreciate the effort that these people have shown to come and to tell you what benefit they get from the regional library, and their opinions on what Lee County can do to help us continue. We need local money to keep providing the service that we provide. We get money from the state, but it has bounds. We can't use it for a lot of things, and we have to use local money for those things we can't use state money for. And we have to have enough local money to be able to do it. And that's what we want to ask you to do today, is to reconsider and restore the funds that were taken away from our agency, to our understanding, to give to a new program. But what we want to talk to you about today is what we do and how we benefit Lee County. And what we're going to do is we're going to ask the people who want to speak to stand up and speak, and then at the very end, I'll say a few more words. So whoever wants to go, just
I'm gonna call on Becky Stillwell first, because she's already talking to me about her sister. Could you tell them that story, please, ma'am?
Thank you. I'm Becky Stillwell. I'm the community liaison for Azalea Place, Magnolia Place, and Camellia Place. I've been working with seniors for many years, long before I was one, and now I really understand. But you're probably aware of this, but in 2013, our area was named in a book as one of the best 100 places to retire. That is quite a feat. I mean, we should be very proud about that, and I'm sure you are. And I think there's many reasons for that. We have a lot for our seniors here that have prepared a lot for us when we reach this age now that we can enjoy the fruits of their labors. But we have great hospitals, we have great doctors, we have great churches, we have good golf courses. I don't golf, but they're real pretty. We just have a lot of outstanding places in this area, and one of those, to me, is the Horseshoe Bend Library. And I've got a personal reason for that, and then I've got a community reason. My sister sitting right here is Martha McCauley. She was born in Opelika, raised in Opelika. Her 3 children were born here. And she has recently, in the last 4 months, moved back here. Martha has neuropathy in her hands and her feet. If you're not familiar with that, be thankful, because that means you probably don't have it, or any of your relatives have it. But it's a terrible situation of burning and stinging in your feet and your hands. So walking, standing, sometimes sitting is very painful. So I knew when she was going to move back here, I was so excited she was coming back. There would be 3 things that would be on her top list. One was going to be a good church. We found it. One was going to be a good doctor. We found him. The other one was going to be a library. She is an avid reader. Did you hear me? Avid. She reads like 20 books a month, and she devours them. And that was her concern. Okay, where am I going to get my books? We checked Auburn Library. We checked Opelika Library. She does not drive, doesn't have a vehicle to drive. I work 5 days a week, so I'm going to compete with herself. So I'm not as available as much to her as I would like to be. But how excited. I was leaving her new home and saw in the parking lot the Horseshoe Bend Library. I called her from my car. She probably, before I could crank mine, she had called Horseshoe Bend Library. I did not know that much about it. When I found out the funds were being cut, I mean, I tried to educate myself. I knew what it meant to my sister. She can't go to the library. She couldn't even get on the bus to look at them. They actually call her, get her list of her books she reads, and she only reads really good books, deep stuff. But they bring those to her door. She's on the 3rd floor. They go up to her room, take her books in a crate that's black that matches her other stuff in her room, she says. And they actually don't leave them at the doors. They take them in. Remember I talked about her hands with the neuropathy? She can't carry it. They bring them in, sit them down. Then they pick up the books from the month before and take them back. I mean, what a service. This is something to be extremely proud of in our area. I don't know if everybody has it, but we do. We can't afford to see this leave. We can't afford to do this. Not only that, I began to research it. What else do you do? They go to private homes, shut-ins that can't get out. Not everybody has internet that can pick up their computer or whatever and read a book. Some people really want to hold that book. But she does not have internet. It would deprive her of that. But then I found out they go to daycares. My word, I never would have thought about such a thing. And the children actually get on that mobile and look for books. Maybe, I don't know why parents don't take them. Maybe they're busy, they work, they don't feel it's important, but we know it's important. I would respectfully ask you to reconsider not taking any funding away. We cannot afford to lose this. It would not be proper for us to do this. I prayerfully ask you to consider it prayerfully to not do this. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, who's next, please, and give us your name.
My sister has covered most of my story, but I will tell you that the bookmobile, when I found out it came, because that was one of the first things, like she said, how am I going to the library? You know, what do I do? Because I do read. Usually bring me 20, 21 books a month, and I read them all. In fact, sometimes I get through before the month's up. But knowing they're coming, it's on my calendar, the second Monday every month, that bookmobile's going to come and bring me books. And now that I'm living at E's house, I said 4 months today, I've moved back after growing up in Opelika. I'm not the only one, of course, at E's house. I'm one of many that use this service. And to find out, when I first found out that maybe the funding would be cut, it was like, no, because I was thanking the good Lord that service was available to me and others. So I wanted you to know this is very important for a lot of us. I think this is a service that you can really be proud to support. And I pray the good Lord will touch your heart and you will continue to support this library for us. Thank you.
Who's next, please, and give us your name.
Roberta Hayden
Hey,
Green.
Roberta.
I'm the Lee County appointed person for Lee
Tell them,
County.
Roberta, tell them your history with the library.
I will even tell my age. I have been retired from Cooper Library for this next year will be 19 years. At 18, I started working on the bookmobile when I grew up in David. 4 years in college, Auburn Senate, Auburn a year and a half. I ended up at Opelika Public Library, assistant librarian and later library director. I'm looking dead at John Andrew because we go way, way back with him being city council. Your Honor, Judge English would come to the library helping me in the basement of the library. The main thing is the bookmobile with me. We had no children's librarian at Cooper Library until I appointed one in like 1990. I totally depended on story time at Horseshoe Bend for all the daycare centers and the Head Start people coming through Cooper Memorial Library until I retired in 1997. We appreciate all your finances that you have given us all these years. And they know when I come, I'm around hoping that we can get some more funding because not only for daycare, these senior citizens, and I can't put on my hands in my neighborhood how many neighbors can no longer come to Cooper Memorial Library or Mr. Warren's Auburn Public Library. They depend on the bookmobiles, and they are avid readers. They like computer too, but books are our tool to the future and the past. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Green. Who's next, please? Give us your name, please, ma'am.
I'm Effie Kirby.
Could you,
Effie Kirby. I live in Monarch Estates. It's ironic. My great-great-grandfather, Jesse Jackson, fought in the Battle of Horseshoe Bend, and I'm here to make an appeal. The library of Horseshoe Bend. Wow. Picture yourself 80 or 90 years old, and think about what you'll do with your spare time. I tell you, I'm in my 80s and I spend a great deal of it reading. I find the bookmobile coming to Monarch Estates and stopping at the front door to be such a blessing to me. When you get to be my age, there's not much TV worth watching, and there are not many movies that you care to watch, and reading is going to be your best fit. The Horseshoe Bend bookmobile picks out books that they think are suitable for you, that you like. They know which authors you enjoy, and it's just a wonderful service. And if it's cut off for lack of funds, there's going to be such a void there. Of course, there is the city library, but as has been covered before, not everyone can get there. But so many of us are old, ladies and gentlemen. We've paid our dues and we're still paying our taxes, and so please help us keep this library, please.
Thank you, Ms. Kirby. Who's next, please? Anybody else want to speak on the, yes, ma'am, give us your name, please.
My name is Peggy Tuck. I'll speak from both sides. Peggy Tuck, T-U-C-K.
Yeah.
2 days a week I drive the bookmobile, and then 2 days a week I do the outreach program. And I see it from both ends. For the young kids, the daycare children who can't be here, there's one daycare that I do in Auburn. I have like 80 children that get on the bookmobile. They may be little tots, they can't really read, but we're teaching them 3 things. We're teaching them the importance of libraries, how to even act in a library, how to respect books, and more importantly to me, we're teaching them a love of reading. Oftentimes the teachers will tell me when they get back to the room, they may not be able to read, but they're excited to listen to them read to them because I picked that book. And then on the other end, I have individuals like our patrons who are older, and as you get older, your world oftentimes gets very small. And we try to bring them a bit of happiness and to let them know that we haven't forgotten about them. The things that brought them joy when they were able to move about, we still want to be able to provide that. I absolutely love what I do. The other driver is here too, and we just appeal to you, please, to allow us to continue to do what brings happiness to so many others. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Tara?
Carol Story. I want to speak for the people who live out in the county to whom the bookmobile comes. You know, we have to try to get a library card in a city if we want to use a library, and they are not as accessible to us. There's a fee oftentimes, or maybe even a prohibition against non-citizens of the city using the library. We like to read too, folks of us of all ages. Now, I'm getting to the older age now, and I like that library to come to me, because going a mile down the road to it is much better than getting in a car and going all the way to town. And it's going to become more and more difficult for some of us that have to do that. So we would like for you to continue to bring that bookmobile to the rural residents of the county. I love rural Lee County. I've lived most of my life in rural Lee County, but I do appreciate having the bookmobile come to me. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Yes, give us your name, please.
My name is Rosanna McGinnis. I'm the current director of the Cooper Memorial Library here in Opelika. Really nice to meet you. I recently joined the community in January, and one of the first things that I did was reach out to Susie and Chris from Auburn to rejoin the Horseshoe Bend Library, because it is very important, not just for the bookmobile, but for people who live outside of the city limits. Because we're a member, over 8,000 people outside of the city limits in the county have access to our library as well. So if the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library goes away, they won't have access according to our policies. So it would be very, very important for you to reconsider and restore the budgets. Thank you.
Thank you. Where's Mr. Warren? Chris?
My name is Chris Warren, and I'm kind of like Peggy tonight. I'm wearing at least 2 or 3 different hats. First, I'm speaking as a citizen of Lee County, but I'm also speaking as the director of the Auburn Public Library, which, like Rosanna had said, is one of the member institutions of the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library. The Auburn Public Library for itself, we offer free library services to anyone who lives, works, or attends school in the city of Auburn. However, through our relationship with Horseshoe Bend, we're also able to offer those same services to anyone who resides in Lee County, regardless of whether or not they live, work, or attend school in the city limits of Auburn. So that means there are literally thousands of people who live in Lee County who do not live in Auburn or Opelika, but who now have access to quality library services and resources. Unfortunately, this decrease in funding for Horseshoe Bend would effectively force the regional library to dissolve, which would cut off many people's access to valuable and vital library resources. If that was the case, the Auburn Public Library would only be able to offer library services to the outlying areas of Lee County by incurring significant additional costs. For example, and as we've all heard tonight, Horseshoe Bend offers a bookmobile that makes anywhere between 25 and 30 stops each month in Lee County alone. I realize that a bookmobile may seem quaint or antiquated, but it is a vital lifeline that connects people who might not live near a library, who might not have access to a bookstore, who might not have internet access at home, with books, information, and other life-changing resources. My grandmother, who is almost 90, lives in rural Florida, and by rural I mean the middle of nowhere. And for her, the bookmobile is the only way she can access recreational reading, informative nonfiction, and other library resources. And the same is true for many people here in the county. Speaking for the city of Auburn, if we were to offer a bookmobile service that was similar to what Horseshoe Bend currently offers, we would need to purchase a vehicle, install necessary equipment, hire a driver, pay for fuel, and ensure that the new vehicle was maintained, costs which add up to well over 6 figures in the first year alone. It is more cost efficient and it is financially responsible if the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library was able to continue providing their service with what they currently have rather than for the Auburn Public Library to initiate its own similar program. And the only way that Horseshoe Bend can continue to provide that service is with support from the county. Horseshoe Bend, through its bookmobile service and its outreach program, provides vital services to our rural neighbors, to our grandmothers and grandfathers in nursing homes, and to our small children in daycares. I respectfully ask that you continue to adequately fund these services so that thousands of Lee County residents have access to them. Not only is the cost to continue our regional library services a small fraction of what it would cost for Auburn or Opelika to adopt these services individually, but the county's funding of the regional library represents a wise investment in literacy, learning, and quality of life in the county.
Thank you, Mr. Warren. Anybody else? Ms. Fitzgerald, you have it.
I had a call from a lady, Miss Mildred Patillo. She's also a resident of the East House. And she just said she would like the commission to continue supporting the Horseshoe Bend Library. That they come once a month, and she said they really do a good job. And she said sometimes I guess the person that drives the bus or delivers the books is the only person they see besides their caregiver. And she would ask if the commission would consider, providing the support that's needed.
I have a question for Ms. Anderson. Where does the rest of your funding come from?
We get some funding from Elmore County and Tallapoosa County and from the city of Dadeville and Goodwater and Rockford. We are working on increasing funding from Elmore County and Tallapoosa County, but we do twice as much or more in Lee County as we do in the other counties.
How much does Elmore and Tallapoosa?
Currently, Elmore is only giving $5,000.
Okay, Tallapoosa?
Coosa, we don't get anything from Coosa, but we do not serve any place in Coosa County except for the libraries in Goodwater and Rockford because of that. They give us funding.
What about Tallapoosa?
Tallapoosa County is $8,000. But we do so much more in Lee County that percentage-wise, it works out about the same. Now, Elmore County could increase, and they have 3 new commissioners that will go into office next month, and I fully intend to go and see what we can do to get them to increase. But we have to have this basic level of local support in order to even continue. Because of the way the rules are with our state aid, we have to have local support. And if you could restore the funding that we received last year, then that could keep us going. And that's what we asked for.
So if there's a reduction in your local funding, you get a reduction in your state funding.
How many state dollars are you able to draw down with your local dollars?
The only way that we can get the full amount of state money is from, we can include the amount that the cities pay for their libraries in our state aid match. But that money is only supposed to be spent in those areas where we have matching money. So if our matching money gets lowered, then our state spending in those areas get lowered. It's a tangled mess.
You don't know the dollar amount you get from the state?
$255,000. But if we got, $2 million, we'd still need some money from those counties. Yeah.
I have learned something, because I had no idea that if you didn't live in Auburn or Opelika, that you couldn't access those libraries. I guess I just never thought about it.
And because
You can currently, is my
you can because of the library.
Because of course you have to pay a fee.
Mhm. Right. If they were not, when Opelika, with a former director, chose to withdraw from the regional library, then we could not serve the city residents of Opelika without charging them a fee. They could not go to the Auburn Library and get a card like if they wanted to, like they had been doing in the past, because they weren't part of the library system. Any library in this system, any person who lives in these counties can go to any library in our system and use their library. That's part of the cooperative agreement we have. Everybody works together to make sure that all the residents in our areas have the library service that they need and deserve. We don't want to leave anyone out. We want everybody to have access to what they can get from the library if they want it. And we are constantly looking for new places to go for people who have needs that they didn't have before. Our clientele changes.
One group that I heard from that I haven't heard any of you mention is homeschoolers.
Yes, we have a lot of those. I don't know if we have any here today.
You may have gotten a letter from some of my homeschoolers, particularly in Lochapoka. I have a lot of homeschool parents. And one of the beautiful things about that is they have a curriculum, and so they'll oftentimes email me what they're going to be studying, so I can go ahead and pick books for them. I feel like I can speak for them. I know the excitement that I see from the homeschool parents, because when I get there, the kids are very excited. Sometimes they're waiting for me to be there, and I get a lot of feedback back and forth from a lot of my homeschool parents. I don't have the numbers particularly, but I know at least, I would say I do at least probably 4 a week.
There's another program that we do, and I'm going to put Shannon on the spot here. We do a summer program where we do story hour programs in the daycare centers, because those children quite often don't get to go to the public library. So both parents work, they can't take their kids to story hour during the week because they're working. And it has been proven that the story hour experience goes a long way in helping with pre-literacy, with helping children learn about reading and about books and have it mean something to them. And Shannon Duffy, who's here, she works with the Lee County group in the summer times. She visited, I believe we went to 12 locations. She did 19 programs a week for 6 weeks and reached about 1,800 children. And these are the kids who, when they see them in the grocery store, it's the story lady. It makes a big difference. I've had people tell me about going to story time when they were little and what a big impression it made on them. So it makes a big difference for little children to have access to the books, to have access to people who will read them stories. I mean, it just makes all the difference in the world.
Do you still serve the schools, the public schools in any fashion?
Not really anymore. Do we have any schools still?
We have Head Starts. And
They have Head Starts, yeah.
Yeah, Sanford Middle School.
Mhm.
And
We used to do a lot more with schools because the school libraries were terrible. They're still not the greatest thing in the world, but they're better than they were. So we don't go to as many schools. We do a lot more daycare centers.
The reason I asked is when I was growing up in Auburn, I can attest that the libraries were not very expansive, for lack of a better word. My mother required us to read, especially during the summer, and we wore the library out, the public library. It didn't take me long to go through my books of interest there. My mother had some ideas about what I should read too. Those did not interest me near as much. But I can remember all the way into high school, the bookmobile coming to the public schools even. And I know times have changed, but I've often thought about the impact that made upon me, because I like to read. I think reading is great. You get so much more from the written word than sometimes you do from what you hear. And so that's one of the reasons I supported continuing your funding. I think we ought to fund the other things too. We've got to find a better way to do it. Now, and that's kind of where I am. I'm open to discussion of how we internally how we do those things if the others want to do this. But my Kiwanis Club, we support reading as fundamental through Gene Dean Riff program. I think the commission supports some of that as well. And so it's not that reading's not important to us. We're just trying to figure out how to manage the dollars.
That's what I'm trying to do.
Yeah, everybody does. But the fact that you're able to bring down $250 some odd thousand into reading programs, books for the young, the middle aged, the more mature. Well, nobody's old. We're just more mature, right? And I think that's something that's very important because I think this is what separates us from many other cultures is how important it is to read. I know in many places they would kill for a bookmobile just to have access to the books.
Yes.
And I know our world in America is a little different than that, but I applaud what y'all been able to do for many, many years. I know it had an impact on my life, and I'm sure there are many others in here that can say the same thing. So thank you.
And we feel like the amount, that we've asked for is all things considered, a very small amount. We've done amazing things with a little bit of money, but there is a limit, to how far down we can drop. And we just have to have enough money from the county to be able to continue. And that's what we ask you to reconsider.
Thank
Can I say something? I was listening, and I think all the commissioners up here, I can feel from y'all statement, y'all gave a good statement, and we understand that. And if you go back and look at what we have done, our commitment from the county commission in 2007, we gave $33,500. 2008, we gave $33,500. They show y'all good commitment to the library. In 2009 to 2010, we gave $30,150. 2010 to 11 budget, we gave $27,135, more than any other thing we talked about. In 2011 to 2011 to 12, we gave $26,592. And 2012 to 13, the same amount of money. Same thing the following year, 2013 to 14, 2014 to 15, same amount of money. And 2015 to 16, we gave $23,592. Now they showed our commitment from the county commission standpoint. We try to look for
Can Steve Chevy please turn your cell phones off here?
We gave that money because some of the concern now we felt that needs support. And I don't think no commission generally had a good some that I'm willing to work with y'all. I got the friend that can share some of the words that you're talking about. It's a grant money out there we can get. There's a lot of things we can come together. I can have some contact. You might want to get some other commission contact information that we can raise the money to. Because I don't want to see anything shut down, closed down. I don't think no commission up here. We support y'all. We got friends. We can help you. So you tell the community that what y'all doing, each one you got family members. I think we support that. No commission up there. That's why when we get out there, we got a sharp budget. I felt, I give our administrators a pat on the back. He did a good job. He told us that it's all money we got. So as a commission, what can we do? We got a lot of programs, but which I asked you to do not just start here now. Work with us beforehand, let us know, give us some suggestions, what we can do to really help you. You know, you can do that, that could be a big help to the congregation.
Again, I'd just like to point out this was a divided vote. It wasn't unanimous, and from my part, it was because on both of the entities, it was the significance of the cut. You know, it's tough.
Yes, the Horseshoe Bend Regional Library is governed by a board that is appointed by the counties. Now, Lee County appoints part of our governing board. Also, as I said before, in order to get state funds, we have to have locally appropriated money. Now, we can apply for all the grants in the world we want. We can get millions of dollars in grants, but we still need some base amount of local money. So that is the issue that we have here. In order for us to continue, we have to have local support. And I don't think that's unreasonable. People like libraries. People need libraries. It is really the duty of the local governments to support libraries. I mean, it just looks bad. If you want industry to come in, you want to say, well, we, only spent a few $1,000s on libraries because, those people aren't important to us. But I mean, we're doing all we can to save money and to provide the best possible service and to reach as many people as we can. But we need your help, and we respectfully ask you to reconsider and restore the funding that that you took away. Thank you.
I just want to be sure that both entities know that nothing can be done about that tonight. It would have to be an agenda item at a later time.
Next item on the agenda is Commissioner Ham with the proposed tax budget.
Howard Porter's here tonight to talk about his development, and I've asked Ms. Colleen Price to be here and talk about tax abatement, because she is an expert, and I'm not. So Colleen, if you would talk about what we're going to do to help out with that. I know a lot more about it than you do.
I have a copy of Mr. Porter's application and the agreement. There's also a resolution in your packet that we prepared, and Mr. Redmond has the actual original signature for the application. Basically what this is typically when you have a tax abatement, that comes from either of the granting authorities from either Auburn or Opelika, because they have a very active and aggressive industrial development programs in those cities, and we're enjoying the benefits of that every day here in the county. Mr. Porter has stepped out and is taking his project out into the county. And it's down Highway 29, just outside the city limits of Auburn. And so in that case, you all would be the ones that are the granting authority for this abatement. What this abatement is asking you to do is to abate the non-educational portion of the property taxes for this project up to a period of 10 years. It's totaling, in this case, it's 13 mills of property of the 41 mills. The educational portion of the taxes is 24 mills that Mr. Porter will be paying. And I believe it was in 1998, the county commission passed a resolution that they also would not abate the dependent children and the hospital taxes in the case that when they had abatements. And I think since 1998, they have been forward granted. And so we don't have a whole lot of industrial activity in the county, but Mr. Porter's got a big project going on, and we appreciate it.
I'd like to point out that for those of you who can't see what we're looking at, Mr. Porter's spending about $4 million of his money, and I hope the bank's money, not all yours, Howard. But this project's going to employ about 30 new people. That's new jobs. It's going to create with a payroll of over $1 million a year. And as Olin knows, that money will get spread around
Several times over.
Several times over. So-
And that's the whole purpose of these tax incentive, programs, is to bring new jobs to the area, not just build buildings, but to bring jobs, and that's 30 people. And this is the beginning of a pretty big project out there,
I
and we're
think it's the
excited
first
about
step, I hope it is, Howard, but he has done this on his own, and that is something that the county is not gonna have to build an industrial park. We're not gonna have to do any kind of bond issues, we have no interest in getting into the industrial park business. Alderman Opelika did an excellent job. And then when we have a citizen, a business person, like Mr. Porter, step up to the plate and do this, you know, lots of applause to you, Howard, for doing this. It keeps us out of that business, and it accomplishes what we try to do without spending the taxpayer money. So I would recommend that we approve this.
That's,
What type of warehouses?
Motion and a second. Is that?
Well, Ms. Porter can answer that better, what the type of warehouse is.
Just curious.
You mean structure or?
No,
Building
things in it.
100 doesn't.
It's a distribution warehouse. Vorbit is one tenant. They will be storing wheels that are shipped to Tuscaloosa, to up into Tennessee. They're in the German auto supply
It's
chain.
related to the auto industry.
Yes, we've got other prospects that are non-automotive as well.
Thank you.
Primarily from the industrial park, Howard.
Some are, some of the prospects we're dealing with are not in the area.
I'd like to say something too. I'd like to thank Mr. Porter, and it is in my district, and I've been feeling, I appreciate it. And also, I'd like to say one more thing. I had an opportunity to talk to Mr. Alfred Davis. I think some of the people in Auburn know Mr. Davis. So he asked me to tell the commission that we got one link we lacking, that workforce development. You know, Auburn is a part of that. Opelika part of that. He said the county is not a part. So I told him that I can get with the commission, and we can feel that, you know, so we can get the county commission to work with Auburn and Opelika. That can help you out more, because that can be a benefit, it can bring some more sanity.
That's a big, certainly a big need. Is the training.
Motion and a second, any other discussion?
So, just out of curiosity, how much money does this equate to?
Overall, based on the $4 million projection, it's $10,000, just over $10,000 a year that's abated.
Okay,
And it's a 10-year period.
and that's for 30 jobs, correct?
Okay, have a motion and a second, other
Thank you.
discussion. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's unanimous. Commissioner Ham on a variance on our subdivision.
And, Judge, that's been worked out, with the city of Auburn, so we're not gonna need to talk about
All right. Next up is Mr. Renham on a change order for the recycling bill.
Yes, sir. We've recently completed the construction. Let's get to it. Basically, construction of the recycling building out in the Williamson property, which is essentially the home of the future highway department as a central complex. But the first facility that was put on that property was a recycling building to significantly increase our recycling efforts and our capacity for recycling. That contract has been completed. The contractor, Donald Development, has completed all the necessary things to close out the contract. One of those things is the contingency allowance was not fully utilized, plus also there was an unutilized landscaping allowance, which requires us to actually reduce the contract. So we're asking for you to approve change order number 1, a reduction of $45,699 of these allowances that allow us to also close up the contract. So we're requesting to approve change order number 1 for a reduction of $45,699 from the contract of $787,900 to a new contract amount of $742,201 and allow us to close out the contract.
I've got a comment on that. Yesterday I went and took a tour of that facility. I would encourage the other commissioners to do the same. It looks great. And they are just, working like Trojans in there, putting, new balers and stuff in there. I think this is something we can all be real proud of. I think we've all heard citizens say for years, they want more recycling. And, they demonstrated that by putting stuff in the bins and they just overflowed and we can't handle, how much, recycled material they've given us. And this will enable them, the trucks, to come in and just dump it out on the floor, and the trucks immediately leave and go back to get another load. Instead of loading it by hand, at the drop-off points out in the county, and then unloading it by hand in a box truck over in the floor and recycling. That was just a terrible way of doing it, but it's all we had. And they did a good job of managing what we had, and I think this is something we can all be real proud of. Justin, I hope at some point we'll have a time when you can have an open house out there and let them come see what y'all done. I'm real proud of it, and it looked great. So I'd encourage y'all to go take a visit with this recycling center.
And my story can relate to the problems we have with our recycling containers. Mr. Nestori owned a piece of property that we had a disposal site, recycling site on for a number of years. And the volume of the recycling was part of the problem. All right, have a.
Like to move for approval.
I'll second. Have a motion and a second. Any other discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Motion unanimous. Mr. Miniman, on a lease. If you were here for an earlier item and want to leave, we'll stop just a minute and let everybody have a chance to clear the room if you don't want to hang around and watch the rest of the sausage being made. I'm sorry. Y'all excuse us, we're gonna get back in session. We'll let you carry the conversation in the hall if needed. Mr. Renneman, you've got a lease agreement with USDA for our ag building?
Yes, if you remember about a month or so ago, we came to you with a budget adjustment to, for some capital to actually get started on some, planning and, improvements to the agricultural extension building, which is desperately needed, particularly in the restroom area. Those renovations have actually started. With that commitment, USDA has already agreed to a long-term lease beneficial to both us and them. The lease I gave you the first page of it because the actual document stuff that I have to go through is probably about 5 or 6 inches thick. But the bottom line is the lease will be for 10 years at $16 a square foot. That's $2.50 more than the current $13.50. And that was determined by recouping the renovation costs associated specifically with that area over the first 5 years. And of course, we will recoup those costs in those first 5 years, and in the last 5 years will be basically covered by that difference for the potential inflation costs based on what inflation hasn't been doing for the last 10 years, this is actually very beneficial for us unless for some reason we go into a rapid inflation anytime soon. This will be very beneficial. This means it brings the annual rent to $80,640.10. I'm respectfully asking you to authorize myself as county administrator to execute lease documents for the USDA, because as I said, the document's about 5 inches thick, and I'm sure the judge has other things he needs to spend time on instead of going through that big packet. So I'm asking for you to give me the authority to execute the various documents that are associated with the USDA lease.
I'll make a motion to approve,
So,
but I also have a question.
Got a motion and a second. Mr. Long.
The renovation work that you're gonna do on the USDA area of the building, will there also be renovation done that impacts the rest of the building as well? Because it's, I know some of them you have to kind of do the whole building, but.
No, because of obviously the extension works, obviously office in the front, they're also getting fresh paint and carpet and other things that need to be done to that building. The biggest thing is the restrooms, which they both utilize, were basically not ADA compliant. Plus there's some issues that, quite frankly, for sanitary reasons, need to be desperately addressed, which they are currently being done as of we speak, correct?
Correct.
Awesome, thank you.
A motion and a second, other discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's unanimous. Personnel policies.
Yeah, sir, you should have on your desk, there's a packet that should be, that is laying on your desk that is, almost looks like it probably be the USD lease, but it's not. It is actually personnel policy revision. I kind of let you know off and on through emails over the year that we've been working on this project. This project has lasted a little over a year. Over the last 5 years, many federal regulations have become more cumbersome, especially reporting requirements. And a lot of these revisions that we have here are because of those, but also a lot of the revisions that you have in front of you for minimizing the overall administrative burden on those areas that really we can do that would not be compromising any of the federal regulations or state laws that we have to continue to comply with. This is the first major revision since this policy has been adopted in 2004. In fact, that's the main reason why we did it. As we started, myself and Kim Lois, when she was still here over a year ago, started looking at doing the revision. As we went through the manual trying to clean things up, it just became quite obvious that there was going to be a lot of places we were just taking out extra wording, other stuff like that. And that's the reason why we're doing a complete revision instead of just changing a policy here and there as we've done over the last almost 12 years now. What you have in front of you has been reviewed by Robbie Hyde, who is our employment legal counsel, along with all the appointing authorities that you have to utilize these policies. They've also looked at them, reviewed, and provided input. All that input and changes and so forth is now completed and has been presented to you in this packet. Basically, what I'm giving you, not asking for any action tonight, is to give this to you so you have time to look over and review. On the top portion of this, there is a stapled kind of a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5-page summary that kind of gives you an idea of what specifically of items of note that have been changed in this policies. They're essentially our same policies we had since 2004. All those that's draft throughout the entire, every section, unnecessary wording has been removed, or words have been changed for clarification. That is not listed here. What is listed here is what has been significantly changed in each section. For instance, the definitions were clarified, were changed to clarify the appointing authority and supervisor. That could be used interchangeably throughout policies and procedures. Sometimes some of our departments are larger than others, so necessarily the appointing authority wasn't always involved in what the issue was with the supervisor. And we want to make it absolutely clear that supervisor is an extension of the appointing authority. Again, there's different things here. We just changed probation, just changed an evaluation period, just for, again, some clarity in some of the things that we do on a daily basis. But as you get into it, really, by each section, just kind of give you an idea. One of the things that we have, like in section 1, I'm not going to read all of them, but I want to highlight some of the ones that are here. There's a whistleblower policy that is now included, which is added by recommendation of the legal counsel or by attorney, which is actually, if you get to that section, it's 1.12.0. I recommend do look at it, read at it. I think it's actually a good add to the policy. One of the things that happens in section 2 that's kind of important to understand is that we're getting rid of what we call our temporary employment of temporary positions. We are going to add an intern program and also utilize the temporary employment agencies, but there will be no longer ability for appointed authorities to hire temp people. The reason why is the Obamacare Act, the Affordable Health Care Act, basically has made that a very difficult proposition to do, especially when it comes to insurance company coverage and how that works. So basically, for us to be able to still operate and meet temporary needs, the appointed authorities will either have to look at a temporary employment agency, or again, if there's an interim program, which Mr. Hardy's actually tested for us in a way. Some of the things that we were proposing, we've actually been testing a little bit, and one actually now policy goes along with it that addresses these particular issues. And again, like I said, temporary type statuses have been eliminated. But the Obamacare pretty much has put us in a position where we need to do that because of the way healthcare works nowadays. Also, a lot of things have changed in these policies throughout, and this is very important as we get to the next item on the agenda, is the sheriff's office, especially how we relate with them. One of the things that about 5 years ago, we created a personnel manager over there that originally was intended mainly to be for paper purposes, mainly helping out with payroll and mainly helping out with paper regarding human resources thing, but that person's role has vastly expanded, particularly in the area of personnel, not only in policies, but also dealing with hiring, discipline, and also terminations, which actually has been a very good thing for us. As you're aware, the sheriff's office, sheriff's deputies, jailers, correction officers are extension of him as a constitutional officer. Because of that, they have state immunity. We do not. So the more that we can structure to where that they are clearly under the supervision and control of the sheriff, that gives us greater protection against liability in areas that happen, particularly in with deputies and sheriff and correction in the jail. As you know, they're dealing with some people that can be rowdy and disrespectful sometimes, and obviously things happen, and we do get sued a lot, unfortunately, because of the liability shield. That helps us with this again, clarifying and recognizing this personnel manager's role and taking focus off of us helps in that liability shield even more. Again, as you go through, you can read a lot of this stuff yourselves. So some of this stuff overlaps each other because there's several places where obviously, because of eliminating temporary type statuses, it affects areas like staffing. The one thing in staffing is we have some additional language against nepotism, kind of strengthen that up. Changing things that actually give the appointed authorities a little more flexibility than applicant pools. That's what's been changed. So if you look through that, you'll be able to see that. And section 4, the only thing really changed there is job titles. Anytime any type of job descriptions have changed, they always have to come from the commission. We want to give the appointed authorities a little bit more flexibility and be able to change job descriptions that are more specific to areas and locations, not changing the complexity. If it changes the complexity of the job, that type of change does have to come back from the commission. But this is giving some more flexibility. In particular, like Ms. Price's office, where she has multiple, we call them taxpayer representatives, that gives a little more flexibility and maybe giving a little more description difference between Auburn and say Opelika and Smith Station, because their roles are slightly different in those 3 locations. So that way she'll have some flexibility in that area without having to come for every little minor change. Within the number section 5, big thing there, we have a safe harbor policy. Again, this was recommended by attorney, and again, when we read that section, it makes a lot of sense. It actually is very, very helpful. It also encourages the employees to make sure they're responsible too and checking the accuracy of their paycheck, so they can't come back 6 years later saying we did something wrong. And they have to make sure the responsibility is on them to always check it and let us know immediately if there's an issue, because sometimes that can happen. We just want to make sure they're aware of it and they have responsibility to always notify us as soon as they notice something that's not right or incorrect. The other thing is changing up, the significance in this section is changing up the education program. We're actually going to increase reimbursement from half cost to full cost, but the costs are limited to the course-specific tuition and course-specific fees. The reason why we're doing this is obviously we're trying to make it a little more attractive, but at the same time we are taking some stuff away, like the books. The books aren't included because now with all these online classes and the way these fees and some of the things work in today's technology, it becomes very complicated, cumbersome, and administrative burden the way our current program is. So we're kind of taking away the book aspect of it, but any specific tuition, specific fees that are related to that class that has something to do with their current job, they will be reimbursed fully. The big one, I guess you'd say, that we have here that I really wanted to get to tonight, because again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time going over everything you can read here, is in the hours of work. One of the things that's being proposed is that we are going to eliminate comp time as a choice for overtime hours. In other words, that doesn't mean people will not get paid. They're going to get paid. They're going to get paid for what they work. Instead of being able to choose comp time, it will just be paid time and a half instead of comp time. There are several things that through here that goes into this, and if you go to like section 7, one of the things we're proposing. In fact, actually, it'd be easier if you flip to the last of these 5 pages. It kind of gives you overtime, a kind of overview of what we're trying to accomplish with this comp time phase out. The comp time phase out transition plan is basically at the pay period ending on December 23rd. Compensation time off will no longer be an option for overtime. So, in other words, if the person works overtime, the reason why it's 23rd is because we're trying to make sure we line up exactly with the way the pay cycles work, especially the sheriff's office, if it works on a 28-day cycle when it comes to overtime determination. When we get to that point in time, that option of choosing between overtime or comp time will end, and they will actually still get paid. They'll get paid just straight up overtime. As far as the existing comp time balances at the end of that pay period, the employees will have a choice on before January 8th to notify us whether or not they want to go ahead and receive payment for the remaining balance or retain and use it for a leave. So we're not going back and forth. It's kind of a one-time option. By January 8th, make a decision whether to pay all the comp time that's owed to you, or you can still utilize it as a leave, but as of course, as it goes down, it's the first leave you must use. So in other words, if they choose to keep it as a balance, they have to use that first before they use annual. Sick leave is not included. It's a totally separate subject. But if they're going to take annual leave, if they still have the comp time balance, they will be required to utilize the comp time. But again, we're allowing them the choice and let us know before the 8th whether we go ahead and have it paid out.
And what is the reasoning for that, for doing away with
Comp time, the thing about it is comp time, I've been saying this for a few years now. The thing about it is comp time is actually not. A lot of people have in their mind that it actually saves the budget. Well, it doesn't. It just defers what you're going to pay anyway, and it actually exasperates the problem. For instance, I take off some time, and Mr. Hardy comes in to cover for me. So he covers for me, and he's now into overtime. Well, say he chooses the comp time. Well, not only does he get the time that I took off, but he's going to get half of it too. Yeah. So it just. The idea is to increase, there's a few things, is to increase productivity. I mean, one thing is it will definitely help increase productivity because all you're doing is increasing time off, which means time and a half, if you know what I mean, it compounds the problem. The other thing about it is that, again, it doesn't really save the budget because it just defer it to a larger time, and usually what happens, especially when somebody leaves a lot of it, it really hits their budgets hard at that point in time. So it's never been a cost saving measure. In fact, it really exasperates the problem. So that's the main behind that. And some of the things we're trying to do, and kind of the easy little bit too, is one of the things we're gonna propose is in the annual leave section, we're actually gonna increase the days. You know, like for instance, if he has 1 to 6 years service, right now he gets 10 days a year. Well, we proposed moving that to 12, once there's no longer the comp time balance shows. So that way, because employees do need to have time to take off. But this way, you know, they get a little bit more, but at the same time, it's not gonna be handled through comp time. Because again, it's the idea is to try to increase productivity and actually over the long run, comp time, doing away from that will actually help us financially. The other thing about it is we'll actually remove the prohibit. Right now, we do not allow people to use annual leave during their evaluation period. That was changed it. Why, I don't know, it's just the way it's always been done. My thing is, I'm almost like, I'd rather than go ahead and have the ability to do it, because it kind of gives you an evaluation of, is this employee going to be one of these employees that always takes it off as soon as they get it? And that's not a reason necessarily to not like, keep them on, but it should be a part of the evaluation process. That's one of the main reasons, but the other reason is sometimes we get, you know, the word is, well, they can't earn comp time and they want to take off in the first 6 months, you know, they don't have their annual leave. Well, now they'll actually have that to utilize. So that's one of the reasons. There's 2 reasons why we're actually going to remove that prohibition. Now, the thing that is, if we do not move away from comp time as a choice, my next recommendation would be is to discontinue the cash payment of the first 60 hours of annual leave in excess of the annual carryover limited benefit. We put this in a couple of years ago. I think it's a great one. I think it works very well. I think it really works well, especially for those young employees who've been here a long time that are, you know, tend to be our most valuable, dependable employees. And you know, they usually end up having excess leave at the end of the year. I'd like to keep that, but the thing about it is that I can't sustain both. The way comp time has kind of been working, and I've been watching the last couple of years, and also with this program, it would just end up being where we would be paying more and more money for less and less productivity, and we can't afford it. So that is if there's anything in this policy that I want you to really take some time to look at, obviously it's going to be that section regarding that, and also the things that are associated with it.
So we're allowing more days to be awarded. Do they still have a cap on how many hours they can carry?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So they have to use some time along regardless.
Yes, the thing is that what we would like to do, what I would like to really be able to do in the future is if this works out the way I project it to work out is that we'd actually either increase the caps or actually pay more out at that role. Regardless of how we do that, again, the comp time is where right now it is a hindrance for productivity. It is counterproductive. And if we can remove that, it gives us a lot more flexibility in the annual leave area. And again, that's probably the big thing. That's really what I really want to kind of get to. The rest of the stuff, again, is pretty, hopefully when you read it, self-explanatory. The one other area of significance that we did change is disciplinary actions and grievance. We had a suspension dismissal process within disciplinary actions, kind of a review process, and the grievance section was like a 4-step process. We're actually combining those 2 areas together, and it's only a 2-step process. The main reason why there is because a lot of times, not only would the appointed authorities get a little confused between the 2, the ones that have to administer it, myself and Ms. Norris, or particularly ourselves, would actually get confused ourselves between the 2 processes. So we've eliminated down to one specific process for both reviews of any type of appeal or suspension or dismissal, and also grievances, from a 4-step process down to a 2-step process, and they're both identical. And a lot more simplistic and simplify that, which really cut down a good section. We cut a good section of the manual out when we did that in section 11 and section 12. Other than that, like I said, most are hopefully pretty much self-explanatory. We'd like for you between now and October 31st to review. Obviously, if you have any questions, anything that need clarification on, anything that of concern or just comment, be sure to get in touch with myself and Ms. Norris. because believe me, we've looked at the same more than we care to look at. We've gone back and forth on it numerous times, and I almost probably could start reading it to you without even looking down at the page. I do look at it some of the time, so. Again, please have you guys look at this and review it, and again, we'd like to come back on May 30th, come back October 31st for adoption of this, because it is time sensitive. There's certain things that do need to be in place. One of them has to be in by November, I can't remember the exact date, but it has to do with, levels of overtime. It's December 1st. Yeah, the first thing that's in here that actually you have, and it's not us, it's a federal regulation that's gonna be in place for December 1st, so we'd like to have some time in November to get stuff out, and get people acclimated to the changes that are in here.
On your policy review request, if the employees don't think we're doing it right, and this is my favorite question, but then they submit a written request to you, copy the employee card. You review it, you give an answer. If they're not satisfied with you, they send it to me and a copy to you. Okay. I want to be sure the appointing authority that originally handled it there. But where I was headed with the question is, how will these changes get to the employees? How will they be notified of all this?
Well, as soon as we get this adopted, first thing this commission will do is put together a new handbook. And we want to get those out there. That's what we need November to get it to them. I mean, it would not be
So all of them
effective.
will get a new handbook, all
Yes.
existing employees. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. They had one ask me about that process lately. I thought, I don't know.
No, we need a new handbook, and it's long overdue. And again, the handbook will be, all for all intents and purposes, the handbook will be this, excluding everything that's really more supervisor and appointed level. So everything directly dealing with an employee will be in the handbook.
Okay. So I want to make sure I understand something on the grievance. The judge has an employee that has a complaint. And I'm assuming they take it up through their internal chain of command to you to see if they can get resolution. To begin with.
Let's use Ms. Price, because I've got a different role. One of
All
her
my people
employees.
are happy, don't use me.
You know what?
Use me.
One of Mr. Hardy's employees
Oh, that's fine.
feels
I
like
want an elected official's office.
That's fine. Go ahead.
one of her employees isn't satisfied with how a policy's applied. Goes to her and addresses it with her. If they're not satisfied with her answer, they send it to Roger and copy her.
So that is an appeal or a grievance then?
We'll do both. And then new process.
She's got a
will do
The
both.
grievance she's taken to you, I say she, has taken to you. You have reviewed it, you decide that you don't agree with the grievance and you deny it. They then, the next step is to come to the administrator and then he'll come back to you. Okay?
Or he gives, don't you just give me a
Right.
copy of the?
Well, the
He
thing
issues
about
a
it is.
rule, for lack of a better word,
For all
copies her own.
Right, for all intents and purposes between myself and Ms. Norris, and so within her area, we will work together, work with the appointing authority. You know, do whatever investigation or review that is necessary, and then we will, in writing, respond to whether it's a grievance or appeal as to, you know, here's our answer.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is that they can appeal it to the commission, but what we're laying out is when we come in front of the commission, regardless of what they say, this is what we're going to say about it and our stance on whatever that issue is. I mean, if it's, the policy was followed, the policy, whatever the issue may end up being.
That's all I was trying to clarify is how it moved from one point to the next. Thank you.
And you don't want any action tonight, we got a month to review it.
Yes, sir. October 31st. then we're asked to do the project.
Tell us about reclassifying the sheriff's personnel man.
Yes, sir. As it became quite obvious throughout this process, and we were going through where it is. Hold on a second. Oh. To the left. Okay. Again, as we're going through this policy revision project, we really have identified how much the role of the personnel manager changed since the inception. 5 years ago, as I indicated before, originally we targeted to fulfill a purely administrative role in processing payroll and personnel paperwork. Over time, especially as we were getting through the recession and Great Recession and trying to make do with what we had, this role actually kind of became more of a professional role, more active in the development of the sheriff's office policy and procedures. And again, that position now has become very active as an advisor with all supervisors in both jail and the sheriff's office with various aspects of personnel management from hiring and termination. Basically, I met with the sheriff, met with the chief deputy, discussed how this has changed, how much this position is not true. The current job description truly does not fit what this person has been doing. I asked the sheriff to go through that personnel's job description and add exactly what all that individual was doing, how they were being a part of it. They put this together, sent that job description back to me. We ran it through our personnel matrix. It's kind of a matrix that how it allows us takes into consideration professional requirements, degrees, what they have involved with policies, and various things like that. As I ran it through the matrix and reviewed the changes that the sheriff's asking for, we concurred with those changes based on what we were aware of this position doing. And based on that job classification matrix, the position should actually be set at a range 17, and currently that range is a 14. And we're asking actually permission to adopt these. You should have behind it the marked up changes to that job description. Actually, you should have the request from the sheriff right behind it, the matrix that was done up, and then the actual marked up copy of what is being proposed to change that personnel manager to. We're actually need to approve the changes to the personnel manager classification position and set the pay range at a range 17.
So you need a motion?
Yes, ma'am.
That's so moved.
Motion and second, other discussion.
Now, is this gonna, we're just reclassifying the position, not creating a new one. And, will this sheriff allow more structure in the organization as time moves along, it's time for people to promote up or move around, that you can move someone else into this position more easily? Will that be part of what you're doing as well? Because
that wasn't the intention tonight, but that would be a result of the change.
Okay, because succession planning is something everybody talks about. They don't always do a whole lot with it. This, to me, this helps with the succession planning of getting a better identification on the position.
It certainly could.
Okay, cool.
Two things to point out. One is that if he was to lose, if this position became vacant, he would not be able to replace it in what it is right now for what type of person he needs to fill that position. The other thing is that as we look at our internal workings, with something that happened not too recently, to actually put us in a position where we're not in a rush, we really don't, we have a vacant position that we can get away with for a while, because of the fact that this person has taken on so much that used to kind of have to still come to the office, but doesn't come to the office anymore. So it's been very helpful.
Okay, good.
A motion and a second, other discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimous. Ms. Swan.
Yes, so in your package you have a memo from me and then a resolution from the ACCA regarding Amendment 14. Amendment 14 is the constitutional amendment that is on the upcoming ballot that addresses the technical issue, or tries to correct the technical issue that was found regarding several House bills that have been passed since 1984. Basically, they're going to try to grandfather in and make everything on the up and up. Which they may not have been, because of a technical procedure that the House did not follow.
We don't even know if any of our local buildings would be impacted by
Yes.
the
Yeah.
budget isolation revenue.
How is it?
Every county has something.
Yeah,
Every
there's
county
about
has them.
500.
Some of them are school tax votes, I mean, some of them are like the officer limits. And, I mean, there are several,
My question is, have we looked to see what the VR vote was, and it was in that gray area?
we're still working on it, there's a lot of bills to go through.
As of right now, there's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 Lee County bills that fall under that classification.
I like how you did the talking points here, and I'm saying.
That was the ACCA. That's the ACCA.
Just take the credit, say thank you.
Yes,
Okay.
I take the credit for putting it on your desk.
I'm gonna share that with my
There-
clients,
there-
and I'm gonna make some copies of that and take it to them in the morning.
The resolution just addresses 14, but
Information.
there are 2 other amendments that they would like, obviously, which is Amendment 3 and 4, which is why I included all of those in there. So.
So you need any action on this?
Motion to adopt the resolution.
I'll make a motion, we adopt this resolution.
Motion and a second, other discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimous. SIDP, which we had to look up, to figure out what it meant.
Safety Incentive Discount Program, sorry, I've been used to that acronym for quite a while, quite immersed in that. What you have before you is just an updated regarding our status for the SIDP, which is due to Meadowbrook and ACCA at the end of October. Basically, we have to meet 10 different classifications to qualify for our discount program, which is the $7,500 and the $6,000 for the workers' comp and liability. We have met all 10 of those. There is fine tuning 1 or 2 training classes as far as the makeup, but those that will be taken care of, and all of ours will be met. And so I just have a resolution for, or not a resolution, just an appendix for the judge to sign saying that we have met all 10, and then I'll send it on to the ACCA well before the October 31st deadline.
I certainly support that, and glad that we got that discount. But what I'm a lot more interested in us getting a discount is making sure that all of our employees go home to their families. And that is the goal. It's not, the goal is to get this discount. And, you know, I think the 2 gentlemen sitting here, that they have, looking after the departments that have the most risk there. And I know they're doing a good job on that. Anything that they certainly need for us to support them, Jay, Justin, all you gotta do is ask us, and we are all over. We need everybody to go home to the family. So thank you.
I'm gonna put that form of motion to allow. Motion and second, other discussion. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion unanimous. Entertain a motion to adjourn. All in favor, say aye.